as everybody knows, these are extremely dark and difficult times. And I'll just say again, I'm really grateful for this community and the activism and advocacy that people have been doing for Palestinian human rights. And they bombed a refugee camp. They bombed a refugee camp. And there's a lot of videos that we could play. Matt and I had a conversation about which ones we wanted to put up here, because a lot of them are horrific and graphic. This one not excluded, but it's a little bit more zoomed out. But this is the monstrosity and the damage that happened in Gaza.
Yeah, and it's important to note as we play this that there is a sort of censorship regime with regards to atrocities, which is sort of understandable from an ad-supported thing. But the effect that does is you have one side basically talking about the aesthetic elements of violence as justification for exactly what we're seeing right here, and that these deaths, that quantity isn't up to the quality of other ones that we should lament. So yeah, just note that we aren't playing the most graphic things because we can't, but notice that it does exist.
I mean, the damage is extreme. It's deep. I mean, there's photographs of the craters. I mean, this is as egregious as it gets. Bombing a refugee center, and as we played for the cold open today, even people like Wolf Blitzer, somebody who regularly runs interference for the Israeli military, is sort of having a hard time covering up for the IDF when they're basically thinking that they're going to get away with the same excuse that they always use when they brutalize, massacre, and murder Palestinians. Oh, Hamas is using them as human shields. This is a refugee camp. These are people seeking sanctuary and safety. And somebody made a decision to drop a massive bomb on it that left a crater along with hundreds of deaths and injuries of children, of refugees, of human beings. And there's not even a question of like, oh, well, we had bad intel, we made a mistake. No, we knew exactly what we were doing, and we think that price is worth it. It's so disgusting and inhuman. It's unbelievable to still be having these conversations today. There needs to be a ceasefire. Anyone who is still on the fence about that is turning their backs on humanity itself. When you support something like this, you are walking away from the very thing that makes us human, which is our capacity to have empathy and care for our neighbors and people all across the globe. What else can you say at this point, Matt? I mean, it's just, it was already simple in a general sense before. I mean, what can you say after seeing something like this?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like Wolf Blitzer, who is, worked with APAC, I mean, and this is the thing, is like, they can't really, this is what they've always been saying, except it was filtered in a way that had less sort of dimension to it, and it was people were less able to understand. This is what they've always meant by human shields. This is what always, it's if we need to drop a bomb on a building where there are dozens and dozens to hundreds of innocent people to get one person that we've declared a terrorist, that is a price we are willing to pay. And we don't really care about innocence. We don't care. And it has been amazing and infuriating to be told by the people who justify this that we are the ones that do not care about the slaughter of innocents. No, this is terrorism too. If we're going to be objective about the slaughter of innocents to make a political point, this is that at a way higher scale, and with our government's funding. It is terrorism. Israel is a terrorist state, and it is not just under the Bibi Netanyahu thing. You look back at the last 75 years here, this sort of bombing so the Arabs flee, that didn't start recently. This is a long time policy, and actually, that gives us the opportunity to maybe get into one of the dumb debates. I just want to say, like, some top lines, things that have changed in addition to like the continued massacre of civilians, like at this hospital. The FT, the Financial Times, basically sort of one of the leading capitalist newspapers of the West in England, called for a ceasefire. So at least let's peg that. That's something to throw back at, say, Bernie Sanders or anybody else who doesn't want to call for a ceasefire now. That at least there's that. So put your peg in that and try to get that to pull it up. The other thing that's been going on is the Atlantic magazine, which was formed in opposition to slavery in this country, has become a complete neocon rag and is having mass market historians who are literally in Jeffrey Epstein's book, like Salmon Sebag Montefiore. And just to put the detail here is his name in this book for folks so people can see it, but he's Jeffrey Epstein had this guy's right there details. But anyway, let's address his points before or after going ad hominem. He has this piece in The Atlantic. The decolonization narrative is dangerous and false, and this is indicative of this entire industry of Israel apologists, which is, I think, it cannot actually deal with adults, and it'd have to pretend like everything is a hallucination by a campus activist who's just learned about this. So it does not accurately describe either the foundation of Israel nor the tragedy of Palestine. Now, I don't pay for The Atlantic. I never will. So I only have so much of this, but I do think there's a few things. One, he calls From the River to the Sea just a chilling phrase that implicitly endorses the killing or deportation of the 9 million Israelis. No, it doesn't. It means for freedom for everybody in between those. That is a hysterical thing for a person that immediately just blows his credibility. And then to act, and then what does he say here? As if it was an attack basically by as if Hamas had just carried out a traditional military operation against soldiers. Hamas can't do this because Hamas ain't a traditional military, because Palestine isn't afforded one of those for self-defense, because that would get in the way of Israel taking their houses. And but this sort of like, for this discussion as to like, oh, they're not settlers. This is, again, the maintenance of an infantile understanding of this, because if you look to any of the founding fathers of Israel, it's absolutely clear. They are very clear. And so let's go to a little bit of this. This is from, let's see here, 1 second. Let me pull this up. Theodor Herzl, The Jewish State, believe that was 1896. I don't know the exact name on this, but just let's look at some of the text here. Here's one. Should the powers declare themselves willing to admit our sovereignty over a neutral piece of land, then the society will enter into negotiations for the possession of this land. Here the two territories come under consideration: Palestine and Argentine. In both countries, important experiments in colonization have been made. Right? Interesting that is just explicitly said there. Also, Herzl wrote to Cecil Rhodes, who people might understand as
the white man's burden.
That one. Right, exactly. And do I have? Oh yeah, here it is. Let me pull this up here so we can get a look at this piece of text. Here it is. And I'll make this a little bit bigger, but you get the sense that he's literally appealing to the leading man of Rhodesia, the England's white settlement in southern Africa. And he says, how then did I happen to turn to you, since this is out of the way matter for you? How indeed? Because it is something colonial, and because it presupposes understanding of a development which will take 20 to 30 years. So this misunderstanding, which points to the, of course, Jews that existed in the land, it's what they're doing here, Sebag, is throwing in the terms like decolonization and indigenous when they're not applicable here, because there was if you would have asked Herzl, like, who are the natives and who are the settlers, he would have been very clear about who that is. Now that there is some birthright to it, that means that yes, Jews should be allowed to live there too. Jews should be allowed to live wherever they want in the world, but not as a supreme and privileged ethnic group. They should be able to live there democratically, and that's what From the River to the Sea means. When people celebrate it out here, they are not celebrating the slaughter of Jewish people. And to go into the Atlantic newspaper and to peddle that understanding to people is absolutely disgusting, and it's the type of thing you would expect from somebody who is in Jeffrey Epstein's book.
Well, there you go. And just to add to this, Matt, I mean, when we're talking about what's going on right now, we're talking about mass slaughter and killing of Palestinians. So sometimes having like these kind of cultural philosophical arguments can seem a little secondary, but it's absolutely critical in the case of Palestine and Israel. There has been an ongoing project not only to murder and kill and expel the Palestinians from the area, but to deny them their own history, to deny them their own culture, to deny them their own food. This is why, you'll sometimes hear somebody who's Palestinian or an advocate, get very frustrated at like American restaurants that will say, oh, we're serving traditional Israeli food. Well, no, it's not traditional Israeli food. This is traditional Palestinian food. And because the people who came into that area colonized and settled it and expelled people didn't have that kind of local tradition, they had to take from somebody else and then say, oh, actually, this is ours now. We own this. And it's an attempt to one kind of justify the presence of people there. The expulsion of Palestinians, and also to sort of be able to tell this narrative where now you have people, making these claims of indigenous and things like that, which is absurd. It's truly brutal. And kind of like small example, but Matt, I know you're probably familiar with a lot of like the Scandinavian history of doing this in the Northern Plains. Where Scandinavians would come in here and then people would sort of etch fake like Viking runes and things like that in caves so that they could be like, oh, look, actually, we've been here for a really long time, right? Similar kind of project of, destroying a local people and then saying, actually, we have ancient claims to this.
Right, which ancient claims, which also look a lot like English property law, right? And it's not like claims as if like we get to live here. It's that we get to live here and exclude y'all from
yes,
it. And
yes.
that's really where it is, because like it's true. Like this is a common part of like settler mythologizing that isn't, and it's true in the case of Jewish people. Jews did live in that area. Now, which like ethnic groups and different lineages, like a different thing, but like. Fundamentally, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't even like land back in the States doesn't mean we get to just exclude everyone there. It's a more common understanding of governance, properly understood. But with the Mandan Indians, the tribe where I'm from, there was literally a lord in like Wales when the first reports of the upper Midwest region were coming back to Europe, and the Mandan tribe was reported to have lighter skin, and all these Europeans got the idea that actually they were descended from us. Actually, if you look back in our history, one of our guys sent a boat across the Atlantic, and maybe that's them, right? And it's like that's the sort of like myth making you do because understandably you kind of have a guilty conscience. But like again, Jews should be allowed to live in that region and
100%.
anywhere, and anti-Semitism is absolutely appalling. But they should not be able to exclude Arabs, as they say, because they don't even want to use the term Palestinians from that land. And like it's like I was just reading Ilan Pappy's Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. It's like you look at what happened to Nazareth in the Nakba, and Nazareth survived because it was 10,000 Christians and 6,000 Palestinian Muslims, and the world knew that like, okay, Christians aren't going to really be cool with us expelling that people. Like these sorts of, this is the reality of the kind of like colonial and dispossession. Like the only reason, because the orders were there to expel all of those people, and Herzl himself, or maybe no, Ben Gurion, sorry, not Herzl. Get my founders of Israel mixed up, but said, you know what, the eyes are on that. Let's not do that. And we have to face this sort of reality clearly, and that you have leading New York Times best-selling historians getting pride of place in the Atlantic magazine to just basically infantilize their audience. It's exactly why we're where we are.
100%. Well, we have one more clip we want to play. Yeah, let's play that. And
so this is a clip of Michael. This is February 7th, 2019, Jeffrey Halper, episode 76 of TMBS. Jeffrey Halper is the founder of the Israeli Committee Against Housing Demolitions. Originally born in Minnesota and moved to Israel in the 70s, while being fully cognizant of the issues that were settler colonial status. And Michael has a good question here, which I think gets to the point of like, is this just a Bibi Netanyahu thing? Or is there maybe a wider, more foundational problem that we have to actually address and not hope just goes away? And here it is.
There's this rosy-eyed history, and some people even hold this other narrative that Israel was this great, incredible thing, and then it was corrupted by Likud and Netanyahu, and of course that isn't true. No. But then conversely, the other narrative that Israel was always just, all it ever is was just this settler right-wing thing. It was a settler thing, but there was complexities to, you know, a labor socialist government, then the rise of the sort of neoliberals, then you even have Ehud Barak in a third way, and then a forerunner of this sort of resurgent far right that we see across the Western Hemisphere, starting when Netanyahu came back to power in 2008. So can you talk to us just about those kind of big periods of broader Israeli political history that you have seen?
Well, yes and no. Because, in fact, I mean, if you look at the last 125 years of Zionism, it was a settler colonial movement.
Well, that's objectively true.
You can't,
yes, that's
you can't get away from that.
Right.
And they were more liberal settler colonialists, and they were more conservative, more religious, and more secular. But that was, you know, in other words, the Zionist movement, that was a left socialist nationalist movement in the turn of the 20th century, came to the country with the intention of taking it over, of Judaizing the country. In other words, transforming an Arab country into a Jewish country, transforming Palestine into the land of Israel. And that was the agenda. So in a sense, whether you were on the right or on the left, you had that same political logic. You know, it was the left, you might say, the Labor Party that founded the state of Israel. It was them that did the ethnic cleansing of 1948, that destroyed all the Palestinian villages, drove half the Palestinians out. It was a Labor Party that did the
Nakba for people. I think a lot of people will know, but
well, the Nakba is the Arab term for what happened in 1948. We call it the War of Independence in Israel. They call it the Nakba, which means the catastrophe. And in 1948, there was a concerted campaign to ethnically cleanse the country, because the country had been partitioned into two states by the UN, a Jewish state and an Arab state. But the Jews were only a third of the population, were newcomers to the country, and yet the UN gave them 56% of the land.
Well, I just like sharing that because that's the type of guy that all of these people, whether it's, you know, the people who don't want to say it's apartheid and what do words mean? Stop trying to shadow box these imaginary campus activists who you think you know better than. Deal with people who actually live there and are like active in decolonizing it. If you want to make fun of that term, you want to have quibbles with it, talk to somebody who's actually in Israel, starting groups against housing demolitions. This sort of shadow boxing that, I mean, Pacman does it. Brian Beutler did it when he says it's not genocide just because Israel's not doing a genocide. I saw Michael Tracy saying he doesn't use propaganda terms like ethnic cleansing.
Nice.
Deal with somebody who actually uses them. And don't just find some campus activist. Go ahead.
I'll just say this. At a certain point, you know, we all live our lives and we get sort of pulled into certain things, right? By our environment, by our community, family, things like that, right? Like everyone has had like kind of political positions that they may have, you know, inherited or been taught. Right. But a very simple test that you can take to see that if this political project, right, is worth supporting is to maintain this system, to maintain this dream. Does it mean dropping bombs on refugee camps? Does it mean holding millions of people in an open air prison? Does it mean denying people water and food? And we're not just talking about the ongoing siege of Gaza. We're talking about the daily life of Palestinians in the West Bank, in Gaza, and also what's going on with Palestinians who live inside of Israel. If your political project regularly puts you in a position where you have to apologize for crimes against humanity, for mass slaughter, for mass degradation of other people's humanity, you should take a good long look in the mirror and ask yourself, what the fuck am I doing right here? And that's sort of it at the end of the day. I mean, really, if you are in this position regularly, where you are having to deny atrocities like people who support Israel are having to do today, you got to take a real long look at yourself, friend.
And the atrocities, again, people need to understand, they're not just a Bibi Netanyahu thing. These sorts of bombing of civilian populations, I'll just read from Pappy's Ethnic Cleansing again. The long seminar participants were called in for another meeting on 19 February 1948, 4 days after the attack on Sassa. It was Thursday morning. They met once again in Ben Gurion's home, and the Zionist leader recorded the discussion almost verbatim in his diary. The purpose was to examine the impact of the Lamed He operations on the Palestinians. Josh Paulman brought the Orientist point of view. The Palestinians showed no inclination to fight. He was supported by Ezra Danin, who reported, the villagers show no wish to fight. Moreover, the ALA was clearly confining its activities to the areas the UN resolution had allocated to the future Palestinian state. Ben Gurion was unimpressed. His thoughts were already somewhere else. He wasn't happy with the limited scope of the operations. A small reaction to Arab hostility does not impress anyone. A destroyed house, nothing. Destroy a neighborhood, and you begin to make an impression.
Yep.
And so we see neighborhoods leveled.
Yeah, and this is a time where it's clearer than ever what the stakes are, what the cost is, and the only humane position to take is a ceasefire and an end to the occupation. We'll continue promoting that. People need to continue coming after elected officials who are denying mass murder right now. It's going to be a very hard and difficult fight. It's horrifying to think that this is only just beginning in a lot of ways. But I've taken a lot of inspiration from the actions like we saw in New York City, all across the country, in San Francisco, also in London.
Man, London, yeah, that bridge shot was insane.
So keep doing it because it is making a difference right now. As we played at the beginning of the show, even somebody like Wolf Blitzer, who's been very comfortable running interference for atrocities in the first place, is struggling a bit, and we need to keep the pressure up.